pick time. Time for my weekly picks. Hopefully all of you don't go to the comments section and choose to be dicks. Well, I don't know. Sometimes it's fun when you do. More fun when you do, honestly. But nonetheless, here we are. 3 weeks left in the regular season. Another weekend means another week of my NFL picks. Week 15 edition. It's crazy how quickly this year has flown by, hasn't it? Talking only about the NFL season, how quickly that's gone by. 2020, on the other hand, feels like a slow malignant cancer that just won't go away. But anyways, looking at last week's results, they were, 11-5, picking straight up winners, 8-8 against the spread. So for the season overall, I've got my tally as 140 and 68 picking the winners straight up, and 115 and 94 against the spread. Again, I think those numbers hold up pretty well to previous years. Might be my best performance ever, but still got 3 weeks to go, so a lot to change. And now that I've talked about how relatively well I've done this year in comparison to recent years of history, it certainly means I have put the old dreaded Jeff Jinx on myself, and Week 15 is going to absolutely suck. That's usually what it means. And that might be true, because on Thursday night, I sat there and I picked the Raiders, and then Derek Carr goes out with the injuries. It's Marcus Mariota time. So the Raiders is 3.5-point favorites, lose their starting quarterback in the first half. So, of course, they lose the game to a Chargers team that's incompetent, but Herbert's a stud in overtime. Of course they lose to him. That's what the Jeff Jinx looks like, folks. If you don't think the Jeff Jinx is a real deal thing, look at me. Look at some of the stuff I've said over the years, especially when I've intended to put the jinx on somebody. And see how true that really is. You literally have fans of other fan bases that beg and plead. Like it used to be, people used to get pissed when I didn't pick their teams. Now, in certain fan bases, in certain times, certain teams, they're thankful when I don't and get mad when I do pick their teams. That's what an effing Jeff Jinx looks like, and it's real. It's damn real. So anyways, 0-1 to start off the week. That's a banger right there. So let's go ahead and talk about my picks for Week 15, the Saturday games. I got to remember tomorrow we got 2 Saturday games. Buffalo travels to Denver to take on the Broncos. The Bills have a lot to play for, trying to cinch up the AFC East divisional crown. They're trying to get themselves the best possible playoff positioning they can, where the Broncos really aren't playing for anything other than pride and for screwing up their draft position. The Bills are 6-point favorites heading into this game. I like the Bills in this matchup to win. I like them to cover that 6-point spread, so give me Buffalo minus the 6. You've got Carolina traveling to Green Bay to take on the Packers. You know, the Panthers, for all intents and purposes, really don't have anything to play for. Even if they try to convince themselves they do, they really don't. Whereas Green Bay has a ton to play for. Right now, if the season ended today, they would be the 1 seed in the NFC playoff race. They would be the 1 team that got the first round bye. It'd be a big advantage. Big advantage to be the 1 team that gets that bye. Get that extra week to rest and recuperate and get ready to roll. Packers are coming to this game as 8-point favorites. Give me Green Bay to win. But I do like maybe Carolina to cover the spread here, so give me Carolina plus the 8. You switch over to the Sunday early games. You've got Tampa traveling to Atlanta. Tampa's favored by 6. I like Tampa to win this game, but I do like Atlanta to cover the 6-point spread. You've got San Francisco traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Oh boy. This is an old rivalry game from many decades, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. I guess this game still means something because technically maybe both of these teams feel like they have a shot at the playoffs. Certainly maybe the Cowboys have a better shot just because their division is so trash, and if they win out and other teams lose games that are in front of them in the NFC East, it could happen still. San Francisco's favored by 3 in this matchup. I like the 49ers to win here. Give me San Francisco minus the 3. Detroit travels to Tennessee to take on the Titans. You know, Detroit's sitting there at 5-8. For all intents and purposes, they're done, but they might be hopped up on thinking that they could do better. They still have a chance in the playoffs. They don't. They're done, and winning only hurts their draft position next year. Whereas the Tennessee Titans certainly have a lot to play for. They're trying to finish out the season as AFC South champions, get themselves a home playoff game, and get back into the playoffs where they feel like their mix from last year could help them this year, although I would argue they're not the same squad defensively this year, so their chances would be significantly reduced to make a similar type of run to last year. But you never know, I guess, what you get in. Tennessee, 10.5-point favorites. Give me Tennessee to win, Detroit to cover the 10.5-point spread. You've got Houston traveling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. The Colts are 7.5-point favorites. I look at this matchup, and previously I would have sat there and picked the Houston Texans to win. Even with that big money spread, I would have said, there's no way. But I saw them last week. They sucked. So give me Indianapolis minus the 7.5. I've got to go there because they looked really bad. And if the Bears could do that to a better team like the Colts, imagine what they could potentially do. Although divisional games are usually a little bit closer. That is true. The Patriots travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Both teams technically still trying to battle it out for playoff position in the AFC. The Patriots trying to keep hope alive, although that hope has certainly dwindled at this point at 6-7. The Dolphins, certainly on the cusp. They can get there, but they've got to handle their business the rest of the way to have a chance. I like Miami's chances here in Week 15 with 2 time. Give me Miami minus 2.5. The Bears travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. And this is a big matchup as well. The loser, for all intents and purposes, their season is done. Please let it be Chicago. The winner can still feel like their playoff hopes are alive of getting to that 7th seed in the AFC. In this case, I like Minnesota. Give me Minnesota minus the 3.5. You got Seattle traveling to Washington to take on the Washington football team and what could be potentially a playoff preview. Who knows how things play out over the next few weeks. How messed up that would be if Washington won that division and then got a home playoff game with a losing record. That's stupid. I like the Seahawks to win in this matchup, but I do like Washington to keep it close and cover the 6-point spread. You got Jacksonville traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Ravens coming off of that fantastic game Monday night against the Browns. I like Baltimore to handle business here. That game against Cleveland might have been a real turning point in the season for the Ravens, building some confidence, even though their defense absolutely sucked. Their offense came to life. Give me Baltimore minus 12.5. Going to the late Sunday games, you got the Jets traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. Whew. I always hesitate when I see 17-point spreads, but you got to play it here. Give me the Rams minus the 17. God, the Jets. You guys are 3 games away, fellas. Gang Green, you're 3 games away. Don't deprive your place in history. Don't deprive yourself of that. And how ironic it could be, as much as all of you know that Adam Gase is a joke and a clown, he could be sent packing out of town, a hero, because he helped you tank and finish the job and get to that number 1 overall pick, and you feel like you could really reset as a franchise. Like how crazy and weird that could be. But don't half-ass it now. Don't be thinking about trying to beat the Rams, because if the Jags lose on Sunday and the Jets win, the Jags technically would jump up to number 1 overall. Like, you don't want to be that team. Go the distance. Then you've got the Eagles traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. I'm assuming Jalen Hurts is a starter here on out. So potentially an exciting matchup between him and Kyler Murray. I like Arizona to win this matchup. I think there's a bit of desperation here because they know they're on the precipice of falling out of the playoffs, being the current 7th seed. There's certainly a desperation there for the Eagles because they still think they're in position where they have a chance to make the playoffs, and they technically do in the NFC least. But I like the Cardinals to win and the Eagles to cover the 6.5-point spread. And then the big Sunday late afternoon matchup, the Chiefs traveling to New Orleans to take on the Saints. The Chiefs are 3-point favorites here. Drew Brees is returning, which should certainly be a shot in the arm for the Saints. They're going to have a lot of momentum, they feel like, and a lot of confidence heading into this matchup. I'm picking the Saints to win +3. I'm hoping I'm not putting the Jeff jinx on them. The reason I'm doing that is because this is all about the long-term play here, folks. I'm trying to protect against the stupidity of the Bears potentially winning their next 2 games, going into the Week 17 game against Green Bay, and Green Bay having nothing to play for. I don't want that to happen. I want Green Bay to have something to play for in Week 17. Best way to ensure that that happens is that the Saints win their next couple of games. So they got to beat Mahomes. As much of a Mahomes ball washer as you guys know me to be, I hope he plays like shit on Sunday. The Saints got to have this one. They need this one. Drew Brees is back. Give me the Saints +3. The Sunday night matchup. It's Cleveland taking on the Giants. The Giants, still certainly have a chance to win that NFC least, and the Browns are sitting there right now probably feeling pretty good about their playoff chances. Not necessarily pleased with how Monday night finished out, but still a pretty good performance for them in a primetime spotlight. I like the Browns to win here. Give me Cleveland -6. And then your Monday night matchup, Always a dangerous one, not because it's a divisional matchup or anything, but just because it's the Steelers. There's talk about Big Ben being hurt, and they're on the road against a much lesser opponent, in this case the Bengals. These are exactly historically, traditionally, the games that the Steelers always struggle with. So Steelers are 13-point favorites. I certainly think they'll have enough to win here. And it might change a little bit, like if the Chiefs lose on Sunday to the Saints, like the Steelers could come into this game really focused and really put a hurting on the Bengals because they're wanting to keep themselves in the mix for that top seed in the AFC. But I think the Steelers are doing enough to win this game, but I think, depending on what happens, I think the Bengals have a chance to keep it a little bit closer than folks might think. So I like the Bengals to cover the 13-point spread. So there are my picks for Week 15 of this 2020 NFL season. Let me know what you think of my picks. Let me know your picks in the comment section below. And you can feel free to be dicks in the comments if you want.